recalls on white goods, he can go get the white goods, dump them off in our recyclable pile, then go back and get green, green waste or whatever they do. Our county would do well to purchase an incinerator, but that of course is another cost, because you can reduce green waste by 97% and then spread the ash over the existing closed landfill that we have. But that's something that maybe in the future, but not right now.
How does this put us maybe with other counties or cities or whatever?
Yes, sir, it will put us on par. The only county in our area that does less, that is picking up garbage for less than what we are right now is Geneva County. And they're at $15 a ton, $15 a residence, per month. And talking with their superintendent, they're having to borrow money from the commission on a regular basis just to make payroll and operational expense. This county is blessed in the fact that y'all don't have to do that.
As things go up and disposal fees go up and cost of repairs go up, that balance that we are having is going to continually go down, I would think. But it's been, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, at least that, I think, when we went from 14 to 15, I think we did. The headline, I think, is at 22. Abbeville's at 20. I live in Headland, I pay 32 and 10 of that's for an extra can, so it's 22 in Headland.
And we'll still be, if you have the 2 cans, it's still just $20 like it is now. There's no additional. You have to pay the $75 upcharge on the can, but after that, it's still $20 or 15, I think, a month.
Sure costs more to pick it up in the rural areas than it does in the city, because we got so much distance between stops.
The $5 rate is so closely tied to the grapple truck, it's not even funny. Without the $5 rate, the grapple truck is not something that we can sustain.
More questions? Now's the time to make sure you got your facts now, because in an hour or so we're voting on it. More questions, Ralph?
You want a $5 raise right off from the get-go?
Yes, sir.
I'll just tell you, this is an open meeting too. I'm for the grapple truck. It's all from the service. But jumping immediately out to $5 is going, I just as well put the charger to the phone, because it's gonna be pretty busy.
Yes, sir.
When after we buy this truck, we're gonna pay cash for it. We're not borrowing money. We're still gonna have 550 close to 600,000. If we start getting in financial trouble, we can do this any month to increase the price.
Yes, sir.
To meet the demand of the tipping fees or whatever. I think until we complete that or get in trouble with our fund balance, I can't see levying a tax on people for what you propose is a 2.5% increase, anywhere from 83 cents to $1 per ton. So I don't know how many tons we use per year. I don't think anybody ever mentioned that.
Well, we generally write a check to solid waste for around $12,000 to $14,000 a month. That's generally what we average. So $150-some odd thousand a year that we'll have to pay, and now that's not including fuel. If something crazy goes wrong with one of the automated trucks to replace the arm, $75,000. I just had the bodies rebuilt on 2 of the trucks to the tune of about $9,000 to $10,000 a piece. This stuff is not cheap whatsoever. It takes a lot of money to operate, equipment that we have.
What we need you fellows to be thinking about is, we've got 2 items coming up. One's the fee increase, and one's the grapple truck purchase. Both of them down, one of them up, one of them down, or both of them up. If you're thinking the grapple truck would be tied pretty good bit to the raise on the fees, but
more questions?
In retrospect, when we went from 14 to 15, I tried to get the commission to go to 17 or so then, and that's what we should have done. We got just as many votes fussing 4 or 5 years ago when we went up $1, as they would have if we'd gone up $3. If we'd have done that then, we wouldn't be having this conversation today, but we didn't do it. Okay, anybody else? Okay, thank you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Item C is, we always follow whatever the state reimbursement rate is for mileage. I had no idea until I saw this week that they had increased the mileage rate, about two or 3 cents a mile to 65.5 cents. It's been our custom to reimburse whatever the state does. Any questions about that? All right, item D, Chris, is to do with the turf spray vote. Would you talk about that?
Yeah, so this is an annual contract that we have every year with a company to do the physical spraying of our right of way. We have a separate bid under the ACCA County Joint Bid where we buy our chemicals. But we do 2 sprays a year, one in the winter time and one in the summertime to better control vegetation on the side of the road. And this is a contract to, a request to award that contract to a company who's done it for about the last 5 years for us, Adm Solutions. So that's what I'm asking today is, to award that contract to Adm Solutions. The rate that they charge us is $40 per center line mile of road. So it works out to roughly around $20,000 per spray. And then one thing that we've added this year to do later in the summer, they call it Georgia cane, which you see the bamboo and the cane in some spots that just completely take over. They will be spraying that for us later in the season as well. The only place that comes to mind is down at Interim 22, close to the county line at the bridge, where that stuff is just completely taken over. And we counted close to 60 locations in the county. And they have a way to, and suggest a chemical to get rid of that. So we will be, part of this contract is also later in the summer trying to get a grip on that. That stuff grows extremely fast, very thick and dangerous on the rights of way. So that's an addition to our regular winter and summer sprays.
Questions about that? Item E is request permission to take bids on the phase 2 of the gas tax warrant project, Chris.
Yes, so this is, the second phase of our, resurfacing program that we have going right now. Second work session will be, more details on that. But, the work doesn't actually begin until late spring, early summer, but we feel it best to go ahead and get the projects on the books. We feel like our pricing could be a little bit better, if we can go ahead and plus get our projects in the mix. Cause it'll take, if this past summer is any indication, it takes 6 or 7 months to get this work done with weather work in. So we need to get jump on it as quick as we can. And this is just requesting permission to take bids. Looks like we will be letting the project in February. And the only issue with that, and I've discussed this with the judge, is Rebuild Alabama projects are let on the 3rd Wednesday of the month. Well, obviously that's after the 2nd Tuesday of the month. So we may be making a request of the commission for a special call meeting toward the end of February to come in for 5 minutes to approve a contract so we can go ahead and get it on the books. And Judge, I apologize, I didn't mention that to you going in, but you and I have discussed that about the possibility of a special call meeting to award that contract to
you'll be taking your wife out to lunch on that day, it'll be Valentine's Day, in a regular meeting, would it help any at all, but on the 21st, you couldn't count on the information being out by then?
We could do it anytime after the 15th. You know, that will be our letting day, it's February the 15th.
We can add that to the agenda if everybody agrees to. That's something I won't think about. It appears we're gonna meet the regular meeting on the 14th, or call a special meeting in February. It makes no difference to me. I'm open either day. Something to think about. Before we leave, we need to have an agreement if we want to move it to the 21st. If Chris says that will fit the schedule, then by verbally agreeing, we can put it on the agenda and vote on that today. We'd have to vote on the date of February meeting.
Anytime after the 15th
That would
is
fit you. Any thoughts from the commission on meeting the 21st rather than the 14th, just so we'll have the numbers?
I'd rather push it back a week and
Okay.
have a 5 minute.
Ron, do you know of any reason we could not meet on the 21st?
We need to get that on the agenda.
Everybody okay with adding it to the agenda? No, don't let me forget that when we get to 10:30 meeting, but I sure will. All right. And we'll vote on possibly moving it at the same time on the 21st. Got another discussion related to that, I want to go over with you anyway. Okay, any questions about, other than that, on that? We're required to file a Rebuild Alabama report annually. Chris, you want to talk about that? That's item F.
Yes, sir, I think everyone, and Dawn, I apologize, I was so late getting that to you. It make everyone's folder. You should have a copy, and that is part of the transparency and reporting process from Rebuild Alabama, that we have to, every January approve the expenditure or the money, approve a report that, has monies that were spent during FY 22, which ended, at the end of September. So, it's kinda hard to follow because we have revenues coming in, but we're also borrowing. So it's a little difficult maybe to understand the report, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer any. But again, this is a yearly routine that, we have to do to be able to report to the state how our funds were expended during the previous fiscal year.
Our engineering department does a great job on that every year. We always got it in plenty of times. We'll be voting on that. Anything else from you at this point, Chris?
No, sir.
That's all I got. Item G, concerns the website that the county has, and Chad, or you or Dawn, either one, feel free to add anything you need. We have, I'm not sure when we got one, around 2012, 13. About the time I came on, a gentleman who at one time, may still do work locally, kinda did this on the side for us.
That's right. He worked with Greg Southern.
Yeah.
He has a separate company for website stuff.
Yeah, separate company, I think maybe even did live in Montgomery, maybe?
He's got
Anyway, it's kind of served our purpose, but, we've found some issues lately. Let me just get to it real quick, and I'll probably go over it again in 10:30 minutes, so people will be aware of it. First of all, it's outdated and it's hard to tweak it without basically going back to the provider to get him to help us do that. I know Dawn's had some difficulty adding the minutes, and I don't know if it's capacity or not, but trying to add new minutes, and she's asked several times to help add the new minutes, and we hadn't had much result out of that. Plus, sometimes the old minutes disappear. Minutes are public record. We keep printed, bound books with them, and we keep them on the website. It was brought up at the last commission meeting in December that, why don't we have the agenda on the website? Well, that's one of the reasons. It's very difficult to get it on there. So lot of changes have been made in the last 10 years with internet and websites and all, they're everywhere now. We've had one, Rhonda had one placed on the economic development website that really works well. The gentleman in Dothan did that, so we, asked her to kind of do some research for us. Asked Dawn to be a part of that, and Carly, our receptionist, she and Dawn basically would make changes on it. And they got a couple of proposals, one from the same company, Tolleson it is in Dothan, that does the economic development website. And another one, and you're gonna have to help me with her name, I think it's Melody?
Melody, Mind Marketing in
Mind,
Dothan.
okay.
Melody Lee.
Melody Lee, I know her, she's affiliated with Southeast Alabama Works, and, has done a lot of this stuff, and so she looked at it, and they've had several meetings, and her proposal was roughly half of what the other proposal was. I think we need to look in that. It's a one-time cost of $2,500, and I think there's a $400 annual
Yes, sir.
annual fee for updates. But the big thing is it gives us free reign to make changes, additions, corrections, whatever we need to. Plus, it's going to be a lot more. You've got the, I think it's in your folder, maybe, hopefully it is. I can get you a copy of the reasons that we think we need that. Be a lot user-friendly than what we've got now. The one we got now is pretty draft. Any questions about that? I'd like to recommend that you consider going ahead with pursuing the new website. Okay. All right. Getting caught up here. Item H was added yesterday. Is anybody, I'm sorry, I don't know everybody in the room, but we were asked by our coroner to let him appoint 3 deputy coroners. Brian Carr, Dave Powers, and Ricky Stokes. Are any of those people in the room? I can't see around the corner. Clay's not, Derek's not here, is he?
He'll be here at 10:30.
It's coming at 10:30, so I have no idea. I got no objection to it, it's just cost involved. But I understand why we do it, or whatever, but we'll let Derek explain that, so be prepared to ask questions about that, be prepared to act on it, okay? All right. That's all we've got on the new business. Old business is an item that we've tabled for 6 months or so. I'm gonna go through the long history. I'm pretty sure everybody in this room has heard it over and over again. It's trying to find a way to ensure that all citizens of Henry County receive quick, professional medical care in case of an emergency. We've talked about it several times, and I'll probably go in more detail at 10:30, but the holdup has been deciding who on this end of the county we can contract with. This started out as ARPA funding, which carries a lot of restrictions. Just a month or two, when it kept dragging, we looked into the possibility of using general fund money. Talked with the people in Montgomery that are administering the ARPA program, IAC, and they said that would probably be advisory. We have a little bit more leeway with general fund money, although we're still restricted. There's certain things we have to do before we make appropriations, like a 501c3 or whatever. I've talked to Spence several times. We looked at entering into a contract. Headland has been ready for several months. We're waiting on this end to decide if that contract should be with the city of Abbeville or Abbeville Fire and Rescue. Pretty lengthy meeting last week with several folks involved. I had to leave to meet with some people. We're here to look at the jail as well. The attorney told me about an hour later that it looked like we were getting close to a resolution. Yesterday afternoon, Mayor Money came over to see me and said that was going to be resolved. That the city of Abbeville would be the official recipient of the funding. So So I think we're ready to go ahead and vote to do something. Now Spence, I meant to give you this. Spence had drawn up just a basic contract.
I'll complete it.
Okay, what I did is in red on the back, a couple of things I want to mention. Number one, and I contacted each commissioner electronically Friday, I think it was, and said, be prepared to think of what kind of funding we need to provide. Unfortunately, the word misinformation is used a lot. It got out at a certain figure. It has never been said. I was quoted that I said there's a certain amount that would be paid today. And finally, I got somebody to retract that because it never was said. Nobody's ever said that. We talk ranges. We talk 500,000. We talk 700,000. It's been my recommendation that we set aside or have in mind a certain amount that we will distribute over the next 2 years. And people say, why 2 years? Well, if we set an amount that's gonna be in perpetuity for 10 years, then that's unfair to the next administration. I don't know what the economy's gonna do. ARPA funding will cease to be in 2 or 3 years. So we've got to kind of look after the future. I think what we do now is we set an amount that we can go ahead and distribute to each city. It's been my intent to start them both at the same time. It's been my intent to make it equal to each city. Each city may have a reason to think they should get more than the other. One of them has maybe more road miles to cover, the other one has a bigger population. I want us to all be on the same page. I don't see a problem with Headland and Abbeville working this out. The other thing I'm recommending, and I've talked with Spence and Ronnie about this, and I mentioned it to y'all when I sent you an email. This is a non-budgeted item. Obviously, we can amend the budget and do it. The money is in the general fund to do it. I would like for us to consider whatever amount we decide to be between the rest of this fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. Sometime, whenever we want to, we can begin talking about it. There'll be an opportunity to increase it or leave it the same. I don't see us decreasing it. Anyway, put it in next year's budget so we know exactly what we're dealing with. I'd also like to expend those, it doesn't matter once we reach an amount, I'd like to see us expend those funds monthly through September. Just first of each month, or beginning tomorrow or today, whenever we approve this, once we get the contract signed, we'll then send checks to each city. So I've asked y'all to consider, I've shared with y'all, listen, EMS is, don't ever let it be said that it's not important to all of us. It is. I mean, there's nothing that can be more important when there's a need. Sometimes people don't think about it until there is a need. And those people that do it have my admiration. Years ago, it was pretty much all volunteer, and they sure did then. Now it's not so much volunteer, it's mostly paid. But, as I'll share with you, and I've got something I can tell you, we've got several other expenses too. We've got major expenses ahead for our jail. We could be told what we've got to build by folks above us and not tell us where we get the money. We could borrow the money and then we'd spend 40 years paying it back. We can take the jail we've got, bring it up to standard. When we thought we had possibility of getting funds to build a new jail, we could never find a place that people would agree to put it. So this will put it right where it is, leave it where it is, get it up to standard. The architects have already looked at it. They've given us general ideas, but pretty much told us that whatever number they get us, we can count on it being a little bit higher. It's going up by 25% a year. So they're generally increasing by 25%. So that's several $1 million. I mentioned that we've already been asked to help fund broadband, and I think it's part of the county's responsibility to assist in some way. I really want to see what the state does before I would say that we're going to be heavy into that. But the folks, if you're in town, you have broadband, it doesn't bother you much. But if you're out in the country and can't get a signal or can't get a cell phone, it is important to you. The The other major expense, and this is a very real possibility, we rely heavily on SSUT, which is we call it Amazon tax. When you order something online and you pay 8% where you used to didn't pay a tax, every city, every county in the state all get a part of that. Education gets a big lump of that. That was a system that County Commission Association developed and perfected and sold the legislature on. It was born with county government. And we have been using those funds to help with roads and to help with EMS. Well, state educational lobby now has got the legislator's ear, hoping to pass legislation that would mandate that we give a sizable chunk of that to education. I've not gotten heat from local educators. I don't want anybody to think we help provide a couple of free school resource officers, always trying to do more. But nobody, I talked with the chairman several times, and they're pleased with what we're doing. It's just a source of revenue that we have, that was created by the counties, that is very important to our budget. So I'm saying that there are a lot of expenses out there. And I've talked along with Steve, Spence, is there anything you need to add about a contract? Is that something we could probably get done in the next day or two, so go ahead?
Definitely this week,
Okay.
if I do so this week.
This contract.
I'll get it put together as quickly as possible. Once I know.
Both mayors are ready to sign it, and as soon as they do, we'll issue that first check. All right, I need to hear from the commission on what y'all think. We need to come up with some kind of, we don't need to be bouncing numbers around at 10:30 this morning for an hour. We just need to be thinking what is fair. You think about it on a yearly basis, and we divide it by the number of months. You can think about it, what you wanna do for the next 2 years. Plan, anything we do, especially if it involves ARPA funding, has to be done by the last day of the year in 2024. So, I mean, we just need to come up with a number.
Best person to speak on that would be Matt, who's done all the figures.
No, I understand that, and I've heard Matt's figures, and I respect the figures. But then here's my opinion, it's not our case to fully fund whatever the cost of any of it is. Obviously, we wanna give everything we can, but we have to look at what we can give. Now, if somebody comes out and says it takes $5 million to fund it, we're considering $5 million. But, I'm open to any comment from anybody.
Can I give them a copy of what Headland give us that shows their cost? What it would cost for them to run it a year?
Just their net cost or their gross cost?
This is the total cost of, including the pay increases that we talked about at one point. There's a $223,000 loss because of county runs. Then they added the pay increase, and that portion come to $94,000. But kind of explain yourself, that's what Jason and I went down and talked to the mayor and Heather, and this is the information they got back with us with. Just something to look at, and it'll give you an idea as to what it costs to do it. The 22-23 column is with that pay increase. If we just talked about what in the year 2021 cost Headland, that's the 223,000. And that's from Heather. She and I talked this morning, and this is still current.
That's amazing, the loss per run. They just don't collect from everybody that gets gracious.
That's right, it's a good meeting that they don't collect from.
But some runs don't transport, some runs don't have insurance. Is that right, Dave?
Some don't pay at all. You got insurance companies that pay for part of the fee and stuff.
This was just simply asking the question, what does it cost you from the county standpoint to run EMS, is the numbers that we have.
I'm just glad we're finally ready to do something. My whole thing is not been how much we're gonna give them, it's why haven't we already done it? We, you know.
Did you do, when you were at that meeting last week, did you have a better idea of why we've not done it after you were in
I
that
got a
meeting?
real good idea, a real good idea. I'm glad I was at that meeting.
One of the things we, I think, I guess I'm hearing that there's at least 2 ambulances up here, we just don't have the staff to run. And one of the things I'm hoping, the money that the county can put in is to raise the salaries so that they can hire and retain good qualified folks on those ambulances. That's where I'd like to, I mean, we're not in it to buy an ambulance, we're in it to try to get the salaries where they can, and hopefully they would be about the same in both places, so you don't have people trying to jump ship every other week.
I would kind of just number things, these guys have to talk more about the EMS side of it. The way it's set up now in Jason, probably a large number of these county runs is heaven coming to Abbeville or further north. Once you put a second ambulance, you would bring that number back some because there would not be that need. There still may be a time, but not as much as it is now, so that county cost, I would think, would get less.
Get more assistance on this.
That's right.
We have several first responders in here. We first of all appreciate y'all very much. Secondly, y'all know we wanna do what we can. But what I'd like to see you do is commit some to the rest of the fiscal year.
I was gonna say, Rick, I would just try to budget between now and September 30.
That's what Spencer and I and Ronnie all talked about. Get a
In
number.
August, you can determine if it's enough, or if it, needs to be more, or whatever, it'll give you a good,
Yeah, we can get started and get some real numbers over the next 3 or 4 months.
get you.
6 months will tell a lot. It'll tell us where we are. It should have at least 4 ambulances running countywide, possibly more.
And the
Have staff.
contract will be through the fiscal year, which will be
And
September.
that's just good sound management is to do something through the fiscal year. 6 months from now, July, August, we'll have a pretty good idea of how it's looking. We can look at our budget then. You know, I'm hearing talk about state grants for EMS. You know, they may come into play. So, you know, there are any kind of possibilities. I'm saying we do the most we can, but we feel like we can now and still not hinder some of the other projects we've got to do. So that means a number. So we need to be talking 9 months worth.
Can I say this too, Judge?
Sir.
With all the other projects and the fundings that'll be needed to move forward, we're real good financially right now, we're in really good shape. If these other projects continue on and we fund those too, the right thing to do, I think, is that we budget through September, get close to September, really have another sit down and figure out real close to that number. But I think even then, we need to start looking at another revenue source far down the road. Once we put this in place, it's hard to take it back. So I can see in the future with everything we have going on, that we get kind of tight. Right now, the general fund will handle just about anything you put out there today. It may not in 2 or 3 years with the things we have.
One thing, the federal money is going to floor. We already see increase the cost of everything. So that's why I want to be a little bit conservative, that anything we give them now is more than we've been given them, and I think.
Speaking to the general fund, it appears that ARPA money should all be spent towards the jail project. That's the simplest way to spend it one time and get rid of it. But if we start giving it to the general fund, and you can see the amount that's there, it's healthy right now. But if we start taking from that on a monthly basis, and the what I call the internet money, portions of that, there's a number between 25% and 50% of that being talked about, being taken away from us, as the judge mentioned. So we, in a hurry, start depleting the general fund, and without some kind of source of money, 2 or 3 or 4 years down the road, there may be an issue.
And you said if we have to dip in the general fund, we're gonna have to dip in the general fund on this jail thing.
Yeah.
I guarantee, because they've already given us numbers that's a good bit more than our funding we've got, so we're gonna have to have some general funding, money to support that, there's no doubt.
What kind of number are we looking
Are you asking me what kind of number?
at?
We're talking with Ronnie, looking at the budget, I would say we would write them a check for somewhere around $12,000 to $15,000 every month, each. You know, $12,000 is what, $300 or $400 a day? I mean, I try to break it down simple, but write a check to Headland, write a check to Abbeville, that they can count on, that they're gonna get every month. You know, I would say, over the course of 2 years, $600,000 to $700,000, somewhere in that range total. That's another way you can do it. I mean, you can say how much we wanna give for 2 years, whatever that number is, just say, throw out an even, say it's 600,000. You divide that by 24. We got 24 months, we're gonna pay January. You divide that by 24, whatever that number is, you begin to pay it, you know, so. And obviously, if things are better than we think in July, August, you make your bump it up.
That's why I've limited to this fiscal year. I
Yeah,
will try to look at it from a 2-year standpoint.
You know, why don't we do 12,000 per month? I'd rather if we did 15 and then I wouldn't wanna reduce it. I'd rather increase it, so, maybe 12,000 per month per unit per town. And we can always increase, but I sure hate to say we're gonna have to reduce y'all what you get. That's just a thought.
Yeah, that'd be, almost $250,000 between now and, October 1st, split between the two towns, so.
Judge,
Sir.
I have one opinion, and I got to thinking about this after I left the meeting the other day. This is a what if, okay? It's already been said that Abbeville's coming up under the umbrella of the city. So, all of their day-to-day functions should go up under the city. All their payroll taxes, everything. And Mr. Ronnie has discussed reimbursements before. So what if, on this end, it may come out less money-wise for the county and the city, if it's already been stated that both EMS services are nonprofit. So every month, there's gonna be a P&L. And then take the previous month reimbursements, apply that to the current month that was just paid out. So just for example, say in February we start running 4 trucks in this county. Say Abbeville spent, and this is not even close to what it's gonna cost, but say they spent 60,000 in fuel, payroll, and everything. Say their reimbursements for January was 30,000. The squad, since it's a non-profit, they're not here to make anything. Write a check to the city for the 30,000 that was made. That leaves 30,000 that was open. And then the city and the county just divide it. Or just say it's 15,000 to the county and then 15,000 for the city.
I won't do anything that's gonna delay this. And we need a number, we need to approve a number today that we're gonna put in the budget. We can always change it, not a flexible way of doing this, but that would take some thoughts, and I don't quite follow everything you're saying. I would rather, now that we have two cities that will be responsible, providing the service that we're asking, kinda got out, we asked that they dedicate an ambulance to the county, that's not true at all. We just want one to be available when it's available. If two of them are out of a bad wreck on the 4-lane and we have a heart attack on the lake, I understand they can't take one of those and go up there. I'm not saying we want one just for county use, we just want one to have one of the 4 hopefully will be available if we have something out of the county. But Matt, I don't know how to answer that. I think what we need to do is go ahead and get a number, and if we decide to look at the procedure we're doing, I don't know. I'm not looking to save any money off that number, I wanna give them as much as we can.
We could do that with 9 months rather than 1 month at the end of some budget time, and then come up with that number for a year. I think that's a better way to budget than it is to month by month.
Because what Mr. Ronnie said, that is correct. Whenever you put another truck up here, you're gonna be putting more money into the squad in Abbeville and less money into the squad in Edmond. That is correct.
Okay. Other comments or suggestions or questions, whatever?
We're 12,000 a month, and just need to get something started. Why don't we do that, Judge, and I'll make that motion at 10:30.
Whoever can, we'll just have to deal with it then, that's what y'all have. I don't wanna spend 45 minutes boundary back and forth, we're just gonna get together now so that we can get something done then. Okay. I apologize to the department heads right here. I always recognize you and thank you, I appreciate all of you. Pam, Charlene, Matt, Chad, Matt. 2 Chads, 2 Matts. Sheriff's around there. What are you doing here? I'm guarding the door. I didn't know you were around there. I'll get some kind of window put in there. Okay. Hope I hadn't talked about you. Anybody got any comments from your department right now? I'm sorry, I should have done that earlier. Okay. Appreciate what y'all do. A couple things I wanna kind of throw out there that to do with just dates and something we may have on the February agenda. Y'all got a copy of a letter from Mark Tye with Abbeville Water Authority. You know, Daniel Riley passed away, and his son David, I think I know them. They've asked that David fill the unexpired term of Daniel. You know, and I asked him at that time, I asked him in February, he said February would be fine, so we just put it on the February agenda, that's okay with y'all. 2 or 3 things, we've got a 911 board meeting for y'all, those of you who are on that board at 9 o'clock tomorrow, is that right, Chad?
That's correct.
Edlin?
Yes, sir.
Rumor is that Sheriff Maddox has a retirement reception, he and Diane, tomorrow afternoon at 1:30, upstairs courtroom. We'll go by and thank that gentleman, that lady. Thursday, there's a swearing in ceremony on the upstairs courtroom at 1 o'clock for, Eric Blankenship, Chris Richardson, circuit judge, and Russ Goodman as the DA. I think all 3 of those will take place. I encourage y'all, when you can, try to go to things like that. That's one, I'll give you all a copy of this. There's a tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King at St. Peter, 3 o'clock this Saturday. I personally donated to it and plan to be there, and my wife's cousin died 2 days ago, and I think we're going to have to be at a funeral in West Alabama, but that's 3 o'clock this Saturday now, not Sunday, on the 14th, St. Peter. Be good if you could be there. They've asked all elected officials to come. Anybody who wants to go to the Capitol next Monday on the 16th, we got all the state officers being sworn in. I do plan to go because friendship with Wes Allen and the way that the probate court is going to have to work with him, especially with elections, Charlene. So anybody that wants to go, I'm not sure what time it is, 11 o'clock? I'm not sure, but you can go on the website and see. I do plan to go, it's a holiday, so. You got an invitation to the new Apple postmaster. I didn't know they had to be sworn in, but he's getting sworn in the 20th at 10 o'clock in the library. A couple other quick things. Dr. Steve Stokes is in Henry County, good friend of one of our commissioners, and he is the chairman of the Medical Marijuana Commission in the state of Alabama. Once a month, Ronnie's been, Chris has been, maybe some of y'all have, there's a meeting in Ozark. It's called Wiregrass Forum. They have a speaker every month, and Steve's gonna speak. They have a great breakfast. I'm a member, you're welcome to join. It's $60 a year, and that includes your breakfast. So that's over there. That's the last Friday of every month. It's a good thing. A lot of elected officials from out this, Wiregrass are there. And the last thing, and I really need your help us with this, Dawn needs to know who's going to the ACCA district meetings. We've always had good attendance for those. That's on February the 9th. And it's a Thursday night, I think, and it's in Troy. We've been to a couple of them that they've had in Troy. We can carpool, we can arrange all that. Some deal and just an update on what the legislature's planning to do that affects county government that day. That's on. So if you will, if you know for sure you cannot, tell Dawn, or you know that you can, and that goes for all department heads. Sometimes we'll have revenue folks there, sheriff's department, all, so everybody's invited to that. I'm gonna leave you with this before I turn it over. I'm gonna give my chairman's report. I come at 10:30. I'm not much on change, and I'm not saying we need to change, but something I want y'all to consider. There are times that we get out of here at 10:10 or 10:15 from a planning meeting. In 15 minutes, you come right back and vote on something that you really didn't know anything about until 30 minutes ago. Houston County, Coffee County, I know have their work sessions. They're very informal work sessions. A week before their commission meeting. And I think it's time we even just consider that. Be very informal, come with your work clothes, doesn't matter. Like on the solar panel project, if we had known that, it would have given us from Thursday to Saturday to think about it, to talk to citizens, see what they think about it. This garbage thing, same thing. Gives you time to just consider stuff. So I just want y'all to put some thought in that. It's something we could do on a trial basis. Just asking you to come to this office twice a month rather than once a month. It could be at 10 o'clock on Thursday, then meet the next Tuesday in a formal meeting. Talk with Steve McKinnon and Ozark. They do theirs at the same time, but they meet twice a month. And so a lot of times, if they aren't sure at their planning meeting, they table it. Well, it's only 2 weeks. If we table something, generally it's a month before we can address it. So it's just something I want y'all to think about. And even, well, I guess that's illegal. We can even do it like they used to do, go out and eat together or whatever. But I don't know if we can do that anymore. We do it all by the first meal. Anyway, it's just something that rolls around in our head. I want you to think about that, okay? Okay. Pass mine up. Ronnie, anything that you need to add from today?
Just what's been mentioned before, the architects and engineers were here on the 5th. They're taking that information, they spent most of the day here. They're taking all the information back in 4 to 6 weeks they'll have some cost on renovating in addition to the building.
Okay. Chris, what you got for us on your report?
The gas tax, planning, phase 2, and then, ABCWP, pretty much the same report as I had last month. We don't have any active projects going on. Got a lot of work to do closing projects out, but, nothing active right now, so, that's pretty much the report I'll give you this Thursday, very brief.
Okay. And of course, we're gonna meet later in the work session and talk about stuff like that. That's just another area, we almost feel certain that that's gonna be, phase 2 is gonna be a lot more money than we had projected it to be when we entered that bond issue. Year and a half ago, whenever it was. Plus we were hoping to maybe add 2 or 3 roads to it, and now it's going. That's all you've got?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else got anything?
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Maybe, it's not in regards to my office, I'm kind of standing in for someone, but, I don't know if y'all received these certificates yet.
I
I apologize. I had company in and I just flat didn't know.
Well, they just wanted to show their appreciation to the civic leaders and the religious leaders, and it's from Outlet Ministries, and they're there for spiritual guidance for our civic leaders, if you're willing to reach out to them. But I have Benton Beasley's, they had overlooked giving me his.
Thank you.
And
That's Freddie Smith.
that's why I was running late, they were dropping them off
Thank
with
you.
me, so.
That's why we probably need to be more aware of things that we need to be aware of and try to go. I appreciate Freddie's a good man. and I
He's gonna try to do it annually, he said, sometime in January.
appreciate, you were there then.
Yes.
Appreciate you being there.
Very much.
Anybody else got anything? First responders, thank y'all. I promise you we're gonna continue to do what we can, just be a little busy. Nobody else got anything? We'll adjourn now at 10:30.
That ain't your problem.